moving on, because of course we have time. I'd like to also just recognize UN Women and just the amazing support that they gave during the SDGs visit. Ms. Maria Noel Baeza, who is the director, Program Division, UN Women, we're very honored for you to be here. Well, I do apologize, I probably missed protocol without introducing everyone, but because we were supposed to have both the ED and Ms. Baeza speaking last, but then the ED had to leave, so we split it up. So anyway, I just want to recognize Ms. Baeza, as well as the support of UN Women again, and also the support of the Deputy Executive Director, Lakshmi Puri, who has been a outstanding youth and young women supporter and young men supporter. Without working with them, I think we would be less wealthy in this field. So again, thank you so much. So the way we've structured this now is that we're going to have 3 speakers. And again, we're very sorry that Isaac was not able to come, but again, his video was up, so hopefully that will give you an idea just of him. So there's the first speaker up is Ms. Muriel Vincent. She's with the Wairo Commission, again, another strong supporter and strong partner within UN Habitat. So over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm honored to speak in front of you all today. Most cities are designed to address...
Sorry. Cut back, so one thing.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it better? Okay. So most cities are designed to address women's needs and priorities, and women in urban settlements are still facing multiple challenges. Women are too often victims of violence and too often marginalized from public policy processes, which in turn affects their freedom and capacity to engage in the life of the city and its public spaces. The new urban agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals provide an integrated policy framework that not only grapple rapid urbanization, but also support and enhance gender equality. Grassroots women build resilience from the local to the global level, and thus are key to implement and localize the new urban agenda as well as the Sustainable Development Goals. Grassroots women know local priorities and already are agents of change in their communities. For decades, they have created and employed resilient strategies and have addressed sanitation issues, sought alternative energy sources, and built collective asset bases. For this reason, grassroots women's work needs to be scaled up and institutionalized in order to make women priorities, which are local priorities, an integrated part of sustainable cities development. As for decision making, grassroots women's organizations are capable of self-organizing, learning, and adapting to changing conditions. Their agendas are long-term, even if their entry points are short-term projects, such as reclaiming a water source, because they are committing to enhancing their community resilience to environmental, economic, and political shocks. Rather than focusing exclusively on women's issues, women look for solutions that benefit households and communities, contributing to and localizing the SDGs and other global development frameworks. Time and again, grassroots women have showcased throughout their work clear example of how to localize global policy processes in a gender-responsive, inclusive, and participatory manner. They also are one of the most innovative and efficient groups in regard to climate change resilience, building, and poverty reduction. Grassroots women bring their local experiences to the table, and when grassroots women later expand their participation and leadership in community development work, local communities and the global development field enormously benefit. Therefore, expanding grassroots constituencies as key development partners is essential. We believe the UN member states can create more opportunities for young women by giving room to grassroots women in international cooperation and transform the processes of decision-making. Partnering with grassroots women allows the acknowledgement of the contribution of women in the informal economy, the work of migrant women, as well as women's unpaid domestic work. The Wairo Commission developed strategic partnerships and linkages among grassroots women's organizations, advancing their capacity to collectively influence political spaces on behalf of their communities and enhance their sustainable, resilient community development practices. A key aspect of Wairo Commission's approach to empowering women to transform development is building grassroots women awareness and analysis, and nurturing their practices in response to everyday practical problems. Over the past 20 years, grassroots member groups within the Wairo Commission's network have been taking collective actions to respond to problems such as access to housing, land, livelihoods, basic services, and decision-making in relation to sustainable agriculture, food security, and natural resources, through a set of signature tools, including peer exchange, risk mapping, and local-to-local dialogue. Today, grassroots women efforts are hindered by a lack of much-needed political and financial support to their initiatives, damaging the chance for cities to be more inclusive and sustainable. Small-scale action can deliver big impacts. We encourage everyone to include those who have first-hand experience in community organizing, community problem solving, and are accelerators of progress. Thank you.
Yeah, the mighty mic. Thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation, and again, we can't say enough about the Wairo Commission and the grassroots movement. I come from the youth movement, having done this for 20 plus years, and we template off what the women's movement has done, and all the challenges they've faced is oftentimes what the challenges the youth movement has faced. And so working together, again, between you and Habitat, unit at least, and you and women, I think is so critical. So again, thank you so much. And so I quickly move back to my Great, thanks. So next, I'd like to ask that Ms. Hannah Sango. She's the Assistant Program Officer for Zimbabwe Young Positives to give us her views. You can also take the microphone. I can switch. Oh, are you good? Why don't you come here? One of us will switch. I don't need to sit here.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you all. Afternoon. I'm going to speak from a perspective of young women who are living with HIV, since they are mostly the ones that I work with. And I would like to believe that, actually I often ask myself, how do we harness the potential of young women in participating in creating spaces within urban areas? And one of the things that comes to my mind is around social community responsibility. As young women as well, we partake and we are stakeholders within the communities that we live in. If we want to ensure we have spaces that we use productively and progressively, we need to ensure that we take responsibility in ensuring that those communities are clean, those communities are safe, and those communities are conducive for us. Because when we create those communities, yes, it is an initiative that benefits our generation, but it is also a pathway for the generations that are to come. So in having that process where we stand up and start taking action, we're actually in the process of ensuring a sustainability plan for the generations of people that are coming in. So it's very important for us to partake in this initiative. It's important for young women to partake in issues to do with waste management, because looking at the climate change issues that are happening within the different communities, young women mostly are the ones that are affected. Young women are the ones that are staying at home. Young women are the ones that have the burden of care. Young women are the ones that suffer. So at the end of the day, if we do not stand our ground, if we do not affirm our position in terms of ensuring that the communities are clean, the communities are safe, and the communities are protected, and the government is taking its part to ensure that our communities are educated enough to ensure that they are safe for us. So it's important for us as young women to stand up and speak about that. And I also feel like we need to invest and capitalize on the potential of young people, specifically young women, because young people are innovative, they are proactive, and they are able to drive drive and influence social change. So if we influence and invest in these young people, we're actually creating leaders that will be able to transfer the skills and the knowledge and the expertise that they have, and they will be also able to mobilize even the communities, because each community has specific skill sets, has specific people that have that are experts in whatever they are doing. For instance, we saw within the documentary that Kaka was presenting on, I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Really?
Yes, the documentary. We saw there was a lot of people were actually showcasing their skills. There were women who were utilizing those spaces, cooking, and also generating a livelihood and an income for themselves. So at the end of the day, these communities have the capacity, these communities have the skill sets. Why don't we use them? Why don't we utilize that their potential? Why don't we utilize their expertise so that we can be able to drive social change? So I think from there, I'm going to end here. And sorry, one more point that I wanted to talk about. Right now, we are on the wavelength of the 4th Industrial Revolution, and that solely relies on having very productive and very developed communities. So if we want to achieve that, let us engage young women, let us engage young people, and let us be in this to win it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I think an excellent presentation, and just to point out that when the Secretary General came to Nairobi on International Women's Day, he's like, we need to hear from young women. And the video you saw there, with which the sound was a bit wonky because we didn't have it. There was six women who were all running for elected office. That's who he was talking to. And again, the strong message was that young women have a role to play, and that a saying that we use all the time, which is getting somewhat old, but I mean is really true, is that youth and young women are leaders of today, not just tomorrow. We're not just looking at aspirational, what young women can become, but what young women are. And that they take the leadership role in so many ways that we just, unfortunately, don't recognize. We don't recognize that we seem to start out with kind of a tabula rasa. We walk in and say, oh, well, there's nothing here. We have to build everything up from square one. And not really going back into the communities and saying, okay, what have you done? Let's enhance and improve. And a lot of the wording you see now in the Security Council resolution on youth, peace, and security, the words of the envoy in youth to the Secretary General, who we invited, but unfortunately Malala is leaving, and so she couldn't come, so she had to see Malala off. But the words you see are youth-led development. And that's not to say that young people always lead, but that we have to assume that young people often lead, and that we need to basically take those leaders and such, and especially the case when we're talking about young women. So, our last speaker for the day is Linus Tijane. He's a coordinator in youth and informal settlements. He works with UN Habitat. Linus and I worked together for 5-6 years. He does some amazing work in Kibera. He partners a lot with Isaac Musa. And they're really a powerful 1-2 punch when it's coming to how things work and what we can do. We actually worked way back when in the election violence just coming out of 2007, where my executive director at the time, Anna Tibajuka, came forward and convened 500 young people in the main conference hall of UN Habitat and of the UN compound in Nairobi, and basically gave a big help. I mean, she's basically like, you are responsible to make sure that peace happens. You are responsible, and again, recognizing the leadership, but also calling it out. We can't just say, well, let's go to hell in a handbasket. Why don't we just not worry about it? We have to really go to the people, and when you're looking at the demographics in there, my executive director mentioned it, when you're looking at the demographics, when you're looking in most countries in Africa and a lot of the developing world, 70% are under the age of 30, 30% are under the age of 25. This is similar to the demographic for women, of which they make up 50% of the population. Young people make up 70, and when you're going into cities, it's even more. And then when you're looking at post-conflict cities, it's even more, such as Somalia, which we do a lot of work in, which is basically the youngest country in the world. So, I mean, you have to engage young men, young women, and such. And so I'd like to ask Linus to give us some perspectives.
Thank you very much, Derek. Good afternoon.
Allow me probably to start by apologizing that my colleague Kaka is not here. Kaka basically, that is not his real name. His name, Kaka, is a Kiswahili word for brother. So he's in locality where he serves, so everybody calls him brother. So brotherhood in the language that everybody gets is Kaka. He was to come here, and because when the US authorities looked at his background and anything, then they said, no, this one will not come back, or probably something else, so they denied us a visa for him to come. And that's some of the problems that young people of us are facing everywhere across the globe. But we hope with the efforts that we are putting young people as the center, pulling everybody together, not leaving anyone behind, should be making special emphasis that young people that are ready to make change, does not matter the background, should be given priorities to move. The documentary they have shared is from part of Madari called Mlango Kubwa. Mlango Kubwa basically means Mlango is a Kiswahili term again for the door. So the door, and Kubwa means big. So in other words, that is a big door for everybody to come in. So every other day, at the end of the day, people keep on coming from wherever it is, because there's a place where you can stay with your brother without paying rent, at least without eating, and he's not eating as well. So it's not a must. So Mlango Kubwa is a big door where everybody comes in. When students finish their schools at the end of the year, that is where people start looking for life without any direction at all. So it's a population that you cannot even equate. Every day it keeps on swelling every other day. And that is the same story that we have in Kibera as well. And thank you very much, Tony, that has captured very articulately through the research of what is happening in Madari, which is more or less the same what's happening in other informal settlements around Nairobi, and by the grace of God in other slums that we've been able to see. Slums are associated with issues of unemployment. People are going to get employment, especially the young people, the youth. This includes the boys and girls, women with no job opportunities. The issues of water and sanitation facilities is serious. You can get, there's one pit latrine at a point serving like 2,000 people. People have to queue to visit the toilet facilities to get water points. The situation is not very good. The issues of insecurity because of people lack something to do, and so them that are leaving very early to go and even buy things to come and resell, or those going to job. People are smuggled in the morning or at the evenings, probably to do something. There's the issues of garbage, the disposal, the issue of diseases, the issues of drug abuse, and lack of education as well. So there's a myriad of challenges. But because these challenges have been there with us for time, young people are saying that we're now turning these challenges to opportunities. We cannot be crying here in, here out. We must stand out to be counted. And what can we be able to do within all these misfortunes that are bedeviling us? And that's why the likes of Kaka and myself and many young people are saying that we can do something to make us move forward. If there is no public space within our locality where children and the young people can play, you know, we are blessed to have a lot of energy within us. And that energy needs to be released somewhere. And that can only be through public space where people can play and utilize that energy within them. So young people are coming out very strongly to demand that we need to get a public space where we can be able to come and socialize, where we can be able to come and play, where we can be able to learn. Because as we looked at the field just adjacent to it, we have a brilliant youth center. So we have these youth centers, same way, where young people can be able to come and articulate their agendas, where young people can be able to see, these are the challenges that we have. And they did begin yesterday, and another day ending tomorrow. They are here with us. And the sooner we start changing these challenges to opportunities for us, the better for ourselves. And young people are already taking the lead and moving from the front. That is the likes of Kaka and myself are saying, no, young people, what do we do if you don't have water as a basic need? What do? We need to engage the authorities and the people themselves, because the type of connections that are also done are very spaghetti, small pipes that are going to nowhere at times. So people interfere with them at some point. They cut them because, again, rich people downstream cannot pass water through the settlement to go get water. The strategy is they cut the water so they don't get it. So for you to get water, you have to buy through them. Now they put them in jerry cans to come and sell for you. So we are saying we need to have water in such a way that is structured through big pipes that everybody else can do it, and young people are doing it. When we're talking about the issues of waste management, then the young people are providing plastic bags or some garbage where young people can be able to, families can put their trash. Young people, after a day or two, come and pick them at a small cost of about 20 shillings. 20 shillings is like 1/5 of a dollar at a cost of 20 shillings. And from that garbage, they go and recycle and sort what is resellable, they can sell, what can be recycled, they can recycle, what they can be used to make manures and all that. And young people are out to do it. So we are saying that we cannot be left at the periphery. We need to be brought together with the decision makers. And again, some of them might have a very low level of education, but you engage them in a room, then you wonder, did you go to school really? You will be amazed. They have very brilliant and very proactive idea that if you put into practice, really these are the solutions that we need. Leave alone these big things that we may talk about in such conferences like this. So if you can bring the people at the center, these are the challenges. These are the challenges that we have. What are the practical solutions that we can be able to employ to make this thing come to pass? Trust me, you will be amazed with the ideas that young people will give you, not necessarily from any book. You cannot go Google and get it anywhere. You can't get it. Clear from the mind. And it is working out. And that is how we pray that partners that we've been working with together, that we can now probably revise our strategy. And we start from the people who feels the pinch of the solutions of the problem, and to give them an avenue, and give them a time frame to try to evaluate what are some of the possible achievements. You will be sitting somewhere convinced in your heart that ideally we have very practical solutions that can be replicated elsewhere to try and address the issues you're talking about. The issues of, for instance, of unemployment. Young people, garbage that was a waste before, now they can turn it to some other products that can be resellable. The garbage, now the estates are kept clean, young people are engaged. By garbage alone, a number of things come. The environment is kept clean, the young people get employment, there are some recyclable products that's coming out of those particular waste. At the end of the day, it's a whole chain of activities, but they only need a little bit of support, a little bit of improvement to enable them move. And therefore, that's why we are very happy that UN Habitat, together with other partners like the women, UN Women, and other partners who are coming on board to try and empower the people from whatever they are doing, and that makes us have very practical solutions. And that way, the people who feel the problems, who live with the problem, are part and parcel of the solutions. The beauty of such type of development is that when you pull out, for instance, for one reason or the other, UN Habitat or UN Women or whatever, who was working with these particular partners pull out, chances of that projects moving forward are very assured, because they are their own initiatives. You basically came in to support them in whatever they're doing. And through that, they have multiple results, and the impacts are very long term. So thank you so very much, even as we try to revise the opportunities that the new urban agenda, the SDGs are providing for us. The people that feel the impacts of these particular challenges should be sitting at the steering wheel of developing challenges. That way, we shall not just hit the target, but probably go beyond the target. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linus. Again, a really well thought out, and I mean, it's amazing to me, and with Linus who works in our office, but as well the many young people that we come into contact with in Nairobi, men and women, and just what the challenges they face, yet what their innovation, creativity, and their ability to move forward is quite, it really makes you, in all that is inhuman these days, and it's getting crazy, it makes you feel human, because you really look and you really feel like there's people out there that really care and they're really able to move forward. And it's such a small thing that we have to do from our lofty chairs in the United Nations to be able to give this hand up, not a handout. I mean, I think we have that opportunity. So I'd like to wrap up now and pass over to Ms. Veza. Again, UN Women has been an amazing partner for us, both in the Secretary General's visit, but as well in many other ways. We've done a couple of publications with them and such, so really honored to have her here, and love to hear her perspective.
Thank you very, very much. It is a pleasure for me to be here representing the UN Women. And I am really surprised very positively of the young women that we found here from different parts of the world coming together for one objective, which is to raise the voice of women in the urban settlement, in the new urban agenda. I'm very pleased also to see that young men that has a different masculinity are willing to work for gender equality and to create, you know, this common space that are so needed. For us, what is essential is to keep putting women at the center of the new urban agenda. It wasn't easy, let me tell you, and in these 2 days that we listened to the interventions of the presidents, we never heard, until today, the president of Finland, we never heard gender equality. So we need to be together, to continue building coalition, to make sure that people understand that without gender equality, there's no possibility of reaching the 16 Sustainable Development Goals. So it is imperative that we go back to our countries and we keep insisting. And of course, for us in the new urban agenda, it's essential land tenure, because without land tenure, it is impossible to have household. And I tell you what, women in 89 countries still cannot inherit land. So if we don't dismantle these barriers, we won't be talking seriously about women's empowerment. In 76 countries, women cannot access to credit without a signature of a man. So we're still facing severe barriers that we really need to dismantle together in order for women to have a chance in entrepreneurship, to have a chance to go to a bank and open a bank account. So we believe very strongly that the budget at the local level of the big cities should be monitoring with a gender lens. And we're working everywhere to really make the gender responsive budgets. Because at the end of the day, any effort that we are making in the international communities are just patchworks. If we don't change the budgets of the national government, of the local governments, if we don't open opportunities for women in the procurement actions, only 1% of procurement activities of the public sector goes for women's own enterprise. 1%. It means 99% goes to men's own business. So where are those conditions to put women at the forefront of entrepreneurship that is financed by the government? So all these things that we're working, and we're working together with our sister agencies. And one of the things that for me is essential that we bring to this agenda is the violence against women of all ages. Because believe it or not, every 28 seconds there is a girl that is given in marriage, in early marriage. So there is a girl that is cut off her opportunities for education. So we are trying to stop that, because that's the worst type of violence, to cut the future of this girl. Of course, we have female gender mutilation as well, but we have the violence against girls much more, because the more empowered the woman is, the more the voice women have, the more we're gonna get, in this horrible epidemic that is surrounding women around the world. So we are fighting together, and I would like to see also your study to see how you look into violence in the settlement. And of course the grassroots level of women are trying to work together to defend themselves against this epidemic. We have a very good program that is called Safe Cities, that is not only in our world, I'm from Uruguay, it's not only in the developing world, but it's also in the developed world, because the violence is in New York, in Paris, in Madrid, but it's also in the cities of Mogadishu, in Montevideo, in Nairobi, everywhere. So we have this program to raise the awareness of the harassment that women suffer. We have done campaigns that had men very embarrassed because we use the same things that men use to women. And they said, but how is this possible? Well, this is what we suffer every day. So we're making this example so men can be aware of what the women are suffering, because there's no awareness. There is taken for granted that men can do whatever they want to women. So in order to defend ourselves, we have to be together in a coalition. So this is why it's so important, the multi-stakeholder partnership, not only with the donors, but also in particular with the youth, with the women that are left behind, with the disabled women that are suffering much more than any other, because they don't have anybody that they defend them. So I think that the integration of the Sustainable Development Agenda and the principle of leaving nobody behind is super important, particularly for the UN, because if we don't raise this, we don't pay attention to this as a centrality in our interventions, nobody will do. So it's super important that we continue together to work that. For us, what is essential is the commitment at the local level to end this discrimination. This public space, I saw that women were playing football. So through sports, we are also engaging communities to make sure that there's no stereotype. Why is it that a woman cannot play football? Okay, she can, and she does very well. So those are opportunities for men to realize that there is equality, even in sports. So it's so important, those public spaces that are open, not just for men, but also for women. And of course technology, because we need acceleration of all these instruments that we are working together. We need to accelerate. We are in a hurry, but we have to go slowly, because we have to think how to integrate better the youth and women. But it is important, the technology, to accelerate all the efforts that we're doing. Particularly when we're talking about climate changes, when we are talking about the collaboration of stakeholders, when we are talking about protection of women that suffer violence, but also to be inclusive. And lastly, I would like to say that also in context where there isn't peace and there isn't security, it is essential to think about the grassroots level, how women are supporting the mediation. And we are following very closely in Burundi, a group of 500 mediators at the grassroots level. They are diffusing more than 50,000 conflicts. That they don't grow because women at the real community level are diffusing that. So women are essential for maintaining peace and for maintaining security. So in that respect, women have a role in politics, and we need to continue, strengthen the role of women in the decision making. Don't forget that only 22% of women are in parliament. Only 22%. Yes, we have countries that they have 40%, and the country in the world that have more women in parliament is Bolivia, and the second is Rwanda. So we really need to keep pushing. 22% of women in parliament is nothing, because it means that the social cohesion legislative agenda that we need to push, we won't have women. So that's why we need to work with men. And this is why the He for She campaign that UN Women has launched. We aim at getting at 1 billion men that are going to commit what they can do for gender equality. And of course, the urban settlements are the most important. So thank you very much for giving us the chance to work together. We are very, very pleased that UN Habitat give us the space, and we hope to continue working in this coalition to enlarge the coalition and make sure that your politicians keep thinking about gender equality, because up until today we are super frustrated that they are not there in the podium of the UN talking about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Baeza. That was a wonderful speech, and again, just underlining again and again and again the need to have women take leadership, especially young women, and giving them the opportunity to become leaders, but also recognizing when they are. You mentioned Rwanda. My Deputy Executive Director, Isa Kisiera, who is the former mayor of Kigali, is obviously a leadership role, and when she speaks, and she speaks of what happened with it, what's happened in Kigali, what she's dealt with there, what she's doing in the UN system, it is really powerful. And I think that's where we need, again, coming together as UN agencies and sister agencies, as you say, that we can work together and move forward. And again, when we're looking at urbanization and bringing it back to that, I mean, it is the place people are moving to. I think 20 years ago we thought, well, maybe we can keep them on the farm. It ain't happening. I mean, urbanization is going, it's moving, it's such. I know, and you know what, we were supposed to have people from Florida. I see someone putting their hand up really quick, so
very quick. Very quickly, because the topic is cities for all, and I want to make sure, although the focus was on youth, we not forget to show, thankfully, you young people will get older, and I want to here.
You never do.
We want to make sure that those of us that fought very hard to get the provision in SDG 11.71 on public spaces made sure that it addressed not only youth, which we did put in, and women, which of course makes sense, but persons with disabilities and older persons. So I would love to find out maybe in another occasion how we can work collaboratively, because it's essential that older people have access to safe spaces, because otherwise you have social isolation.
Exactly. Absolutely. And
Thank you for giving me a chance.
And let's end on the cities for all. I mean, we're talking about everyone. We're talking about young people with disabilities. We're talking about indigenous youth. We're talking about LGBTQ, or I, depending on how you do it. And we're really, we're having to definitely look at that. And the intergenerational component of youth and elders or seniors is critical. It's the basis of many of the communities that I've worked in, both indigenous communities as well as the communities that I've worked in Kenya. It's that collaboration that really ties together and makes it so you have the wisdom of the elders, the innovation of young people, and you move forward. So again, thank you so much for coming. We're really honored to have you all here. Please, if you want to get the report, sign up, or just even throw your card down. You don't necessarily need to sign up. We'd love to send it to you, and we'll follow up later. Thanks.
Thank you.